9-2. This is multiplying and factoring polynomials. First, we're going to multiply a polynomial by a monomial. So that would be like a binomial or trinomial times one term. And then we're also going to factor a monomial from a polynomial. Factoring out the greatest term, pulling out the greatest term is what I usually call it. All right, let's go ahead and get it going. Example 1, we are multiplying a monomial and a trinomial. So we're going to go down here, and basically you're just going to distribute that 2g squared to everything. You have to remember to do it to each one though. So 2g squared times 3g cubed. And I should have said negative 2g squared. And then that's 3g cubed. And then we have plus negative 2g squared times 6g. And then we have plus negative 2g squared, and then that's times negative 5. Now you can see why we had to do those exponents in the previous chapter. Okay, so here we're going to do like things, like terms. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. We have g squared times g to the third. So remember that's the same as having how many g's? 5. 2 plus 3 is 5. So negative 6g to the fifth. And then we have plus negative 2 times 6 is going to be negative 12. G squared, so that's 2 little g's there and 1 g here. So that's going to be g. 2 plus 1 is 3. And then plus negative 2 times negative 5 is a positive 10. And then we have that g squared. All right, so now we need to go through and clean this part up here. This is good, negative 6g to the fifth, but we can't have plus and negative, so we're just going to put minus 12g cubed and then plus 10g squared. Okay, so go through it systematically, do it one at a time, and you will do okay. But again, you're going to have to remember your rules of the exponents from chapter 8. Okay, now finding the greatest common factor. This tends to be one of the hardest things my kiddos have to do. Don't know why. It just is. So we have 2x to the fourth, 10x squared, and negative 6x. Now, what I would like to do is look at this and see, what do these all have in common? Well, they're all even, so we know there's a 2 in common. And this one has an x to the fourth, this one has x squared, and this has an x. So there's also at least one x in common. Now, it has to be in common. We can't say x to the fourth because the 6x term only has one x. Okay, so factoring or writing this out in prime factorization, we have 2 times x times x times x times x. 10 would be 2 times 5 times x times x. And negative 6 would be, I'm going to go ahead and put negative 1 times 2 times 3 times x. That way the negative isn't on one of the numbers and it messes anybody up. Okay, so we have to go through and say, what do they have in common? Each one of these has a 2, so I'm going to circle that 2. Let's see, they each have an x, like we said. This one has 3 x's. That has an x, but this one has no more x's. This one has a 5, but these two don't. This one has a 3, but these two don't. So therefore, your greatest common factor is just 2x. Okay? All right, now, let's go ahead and take a look at example 3, which is going to be an extension of this particular example, and that's factoring out the monomial. I think if you do this prime factorization way, it does help you with rewriting that and show you what I mean. All right, so looking at 4x cubed minus 8x squared plus 12x, I don't know about you, but for me, 4, 8, 12, they each have a 4 in. x cubed, x squared, x, and they each have an x, right? So this is probably my greatest common factor, right? But just in case we have any naysayers out there, this will be 2 times 2 times x times x times x. We've got negative 1, 2 times 4, and 4 is 2 times 2. Whoops. And then x times x. 12x would be 2 times 6, or 2 times 2 times 3 times x. All right, going through, these each have 1, 2 in common. And hey, look at that, they each have another 2 in common. And they each have an x in common. But that's it. This one only this one has a 3. This one has another 2, and this one has 2 x's. So your greatest common factor is going to be 2 times 2 times x, which is 4x. Okay, so that's the first thing. You have to find your greatest common factor. Now, we are going to write this. We need to factor this out, meaning we need to divide 4x out of each of those terms. So we're going to have 4x times what? If I pulled out 4x, what do I have left? Well, look at that. We have x times x left. So this would be x squared. Negative 8 squared, dividing 4x or taking out 4x, leaves us with negative 1 times 2 times x. So that would be negative 2x. And 12x dividing out of 4x, or factoring out of 4x, is going to leave us with just 3. So doing this really helps bridge the gap between factoring and factoring out your monomial. Right? I think there's just one more example and we're done. Nope, that was it. Awesome. All right, so any questions, please let me know. This is probably one of the most important ones that you are going to use. And this is not going away, so you definitely want to practice this and master it.